Okay. Now, speaking of music, I'm going to wrap up with this because this kind of ties together music and it also ties in together. I spend a lot of time discussing how we come to ideas, how we arrive at certain thoughts and claims, et cetera, et cetera. Well, years ago, I starred in Tupelo Community Theater's production of Mary Poppins. That's me there in the red. I was playing the role of Bert, the chimney sweep. And the reason I tell this story is because we had performances during performance week. We had shows on Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday matinee. We had 3 shows open to the public. Well, I got an email earlier in the week. It was on a Tuesday from this lady right here. Her name is Sherry Davis, and she was a colleague of mine. She taught biology at ICC, and she said, my schedule's busy. I can't come to any of the shows this weekend. Any chance that I can come to sponsor night, which was on Tuesday evening? She sent me the email like on Tuesday afternoon because she knew that sponsor night was like the last dress rehearsal, and the bank that was sponsoring our show allowed their we allowed their employees to attend. And so she was hoping that she could sneak in on that. And I said, I really don't know. I'm not sure the rules, but yeah, go ahead and give it a shot. Call the box office and see if they'll sell you a ticket or whatever. And then I went off and I went home real quick, kissed my kids and ate some dinner. And then I went to the theater. And sure enough, I'm out on stage that evening and I'm singing and dancing. And sure enough, there's Sherry and her husband, Johnny, out in the audience. And we finished the show. And we were told by the director that on sponsor night, we don't go out and we don't do a meet and greet with the audience, which kind of frustrated me because I wanted to know what everyone thought. But first thing Wednesday morning, I was fired off an email to Sherry. Hey, Sherry, what'd you think of the show? And here's how she responded. She said, Benjamin, her son, sprained his ankle and she was in the ER. She was like, I'm sorry I missed it. I had every intention of being there. What time does the matinee start and stop on Saturday? Maybe I can fit it in. And that was my expression when I read that email. I was dumbfounded because I was 100% confident that she was at that show. If I wasn't 100%, I wouldn't have said, hey, Sherry, how was the show? Isn't that fascinating? I had fooled myself. And part of what I talk about with critical thinking is how easily we can fool ourselves. And so I responded to Sherry that after she told me that she wasn't there, I said, thank you for not being there. Because I know what I'm going to be talking to my class about today. I fooled myself. This is one of my favorite quotes from Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of my science communication heroes. Science is a way to keep from fooling ourselves and each other. And just like the Aaron Freppen, remember that? Where I had to unpack the reasons why I had taught an incomplete explanation for semesters, but it was only because he objected. Same thing here. Had I not fired off that email, hey, Sherry, how was the show? And if she had not responded, I would have lived the rest of my life thinking she was in the audience that evening, and yet she wasn't. So I had to go back. Once I knew that she wasn't in the audience, I had to ask myself, well, why was I so convinced? Why was I so confident? And I realized I took lousy data. I was up there singing and dancing. I wasn't looking at any particular member of the audience. And yet I seemed to think that I saw a woman with shoulder-length blonde hair and a man with a salt and pepper mustache sitting next to her. I would love to go back in time and actually figure out if there was anybody close to that resemblance in the audience. But I'm looking at them with lights in my eyes, through lousy glasses. I got spotlights in my eyes. I'm singing and dancing, and they're in the dark. And so I married really lousy data with a bias. I was convinced, based on our email, that she was going to wind up at that show that evening. So I married lousy data with a bias, and I came to a firm conclusion. I was 100% that she was in the audience that night. And only because she sent me an email saying I wasn't there did my confidence lower. Now, I went from pretty close to 100 down to, do I go to 0? Probably not, because I can think of other possibilities that she might have been in the audience that evening. Maybe she actually did show up, but she thought I was lousy and didn't want to hurt my feelings. So she made up an excuse that she wasn't there. That's a possibility. And therefore, I wouldn't say there's a 0% chance that she could be lying to me. But that's something that's testable. I could actually ask her, okay, I'm not going to be insulted. Tell me where you really were. That's a testable explanation. But what if I said that Sherry was in both places at one time? What if she's a quantum being? She's both in the ER and attending Mary Poppins. Well, if I really believed that, there's no way for me to test it. It's neither testable nor falsifiable. There's nothing I can learn or find out that would make me more or less confident in that explanation. And that kind of an explanation doesn't have any value. So anyway, I hope you kind of value this sort of stuff. I find it really interesting. I love when I'm wrong, because the best part about knowing that you're wrong is that you're not wrong anymore. But this all goes to show that critical thinking is a skill we have to continue to hone. And we're all susceptible to having biases and choosing evidence and counting as evidence things that only confirm things that we already believe to be true. Okay, so keep an eye out for that kind of stuff.